One. We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second or third episode of the Biggest Problem in the World podcast. I'm Parker Brown. I'm joined by my co-host, Megan Graves.
Hi.
And our guest this week is the voice of Kurt Ryan.
Oh yeah, no one's gonna be able to see me. I kind of like this because now people can just guess what I look like. I'm extremely handsome.
We'll have a poll at the end where you have to guess what Kurt Ryan looks like. How about that? All right. For those of you who don't know about the podcast, this podcast is based on a podcast called The Biggest Problem in the Universe. Ours is called The Biggest Problem in the World. And what we do every week is each person on the podcast brings in a problem that they think is the biggest problem in the world. And then at the end, there will be a poll. And who gets to decide? Is it the Pope? Is it the lizard shadow government that runs the United States? No, it's you, listener or watcher. It's you who gets to decide what is the biggest problem in the world. So remember to go online. There'll be links to the poll and vote on what you think is the biggest problem in the world. So to start us off, I think Kurt Ryan was angry. He was incensed. So Kurt, tell us what you think is the biggest problem in the world right now.
Okay, well, first of all, it took a long time to think of this because there's a lot of things that just piss me off lately because I'm stuck in the house and I'm just on social media all day. So there's just a lot to be annoyed by right now. But I'd say I decided the biggest problem for me is something that's really personal to me. So I decided to pick a very personal one. My biggest problem is when people talk to people with disabilities in a very condescending way.
Ooh, I can definitely see that happening and being immensely frustrating.
Yeah,
I was gonna try and do an act out where I tried to talk to you in a condescending way, but I couldn't even think of one, Kurt.
Well, the thing is, because I'm a comedian and I have a disability, I'm on the autism spectrum. It's just certain things people say piss me off, and it's when people are trying to be overly phony positive to me. That's worse to me than if somebody calls me a retard. I prefer that the guy who calls me a retard over phony condescending, because at least the guy who's calling me a retard, I know where he stands and I can respect that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, do you have an example?
Yeah, are there go-tos that you get all the time?
Well, again, like I was saying, because I'm a comedian on the autism spectrum, sometimes after a set, someone will come up to me and they'll say the most offhanded, rude, ironically kind of autistic thing to me.
Give us. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
One time after a show in Hagerstown, it was actually a show I did for Ryan Grimes. Shout out to your co-host on your other podcast there. A woman came up to me and she was like, "I enjoyed your set. I have a question. Can autistic comedians write their own jokes?"
Oh my God. So what?
And I was just like, yeah, I write my own jokes.
Oh my God. I would have been like, no, I've never learned how to write. I can't read. It's incredible that we're even having this conversation. Honestly.
I have autism. I'm not in a comatose state.
That's wild. What would the ignorance, it's the proud ignorance. It's the not only am I ignorant, but I'm just so confident in my ignorance that it's
And she said it in a sweet tone. So if I yelled at her, I'm the dick.
Oh, we're good at that. Us ladies, particularly us white ladies, are very good at that move.
This is what I just thought of. Have you ever used your autism for evil? Have you ever been really mean to somebody and then been like, "Oh, sorry, I'm autistic"? or
I
something
mean,
like that?
I'll be
Or
honest. Yeah, I definitely have. Like that's just being like any autistic person who says I don't. You like we know how to milk it when we have to.
oh my god.
You deserve to. Like, you get so much shit from other people that you have to deal with. It is fully within, like, your rights to milk it when you can.
Yeah, I can't do it all the time because then it just is like my family definitely has a short fuse with it because they know when I'm doing it.
Oh really?
That's
And
so funny.
it's like you're not autistic right now. You're just being an asshole.
That's so funny. They call you out.
Yeah, and then that's really like it's just countless examples of that where it's just I don't so much mind if you insult me. It's the condescending tone that I feel the most disrespected by, if that makes any sense.
It totally does. And it feels like it's like a microaggression against you, where it's not something that in the moment you can like show how much it bothers and offends you, because like to that person it doesn't seem quote unquote that bad. And but it like it's one of those things that piles up, and when you have to deal with it continuously over time, it like it's difficult. But you can't, like, if somebody comes up to you and just calls you something awful, you can respond with like a weight that would be like satisfying. But when somebody comes up with like something condescending or like a microaggression, like you can't necessarily fight back as hard as you want and deserve to in those moments. And that has to be, it's so frustrating to feel like you are fucking stupid and offensive, and you can't tell them that because they're saying it to you in like a kind way,
In a soft tone.
in a soft tone, which white ladies love to do that in order to like get themselves like hide how shitty they're being.
I have another example, and this one I can't name drop and said who said this to me, but Megan, you know who I'm talking about because I told you this one before.
Ooh.
One time I was booked on a show. It was on Christmas Eve.
Whoa.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
I booked on the show. Anyway, like another comic is on stage and it's almost my turn to go up. And this is a place where the crowd isn't listening. They've just been talking over everybody's sets.
Terrible crowd.
Yeah. And the booker comes up to me, the person who booked me, and she was like, "Hey, if you can, would you be able to just like really milk your disability so people stop talking?"
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
Jesus
That
Christ.
hurts my soul just as bad now as it did then. Like,
Yeah, don't you feel dirty?
It does. It makes me feel dirty. Like, that is so yucky.
Yeah, and then this is a comic who hadn't been doing her job. She didn't host properly. So I'm just like, well, maybe the people would stop talking if you learn how to host a comedy show.
I'm pretty sure I know who you guys are talking about, which just makes it.
There were a lot of reasons why that particular show was not working, and it was a packed room where nobody was paying attention. The microphone wasn't that loud. There was not a lot of policing of the audience being done. Like, it was very much like we were all thrown into the trenches for that show.
And she wasn't even just a dick to me. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, that show was an absolute nightmare. But telling you, like, because when I first heard, like, you first told me, you were like, I'm gonna pull the disability card, and like that's so funny coming from you. But then finding out later that it was because somebody asked you to was so fucked up. Like, if you of your own volition are like, I'm gonna milk it up there, I'm gonna pull this, because like there are certain rooms where I'll be like, all right, I'm busting out all my gay jokes. Like, they're gonna love my bisexual material in this room. There are also some rooms where I'm like, I cannot tell them that I am a gay person.
Yeah, well, for me, it's like, you just have to tell me to do my act. Autism will come up.
Just going out of your way to say something awful.
It makes you insecure about what you do because you're like, do I fucking talk about it too much?
Yeah.
Or then it also has to make you wonder, like, am I only, getting booked because of this thing, or is it, if that's what somebody's relying on you to do, it's like, well, what if I wanted to tell other jokes? Am I able to deviate from the jokes that people know from me? So it puts you in a box where you are stuck, like, questioning yourself and your talent, and it's like a totally unfair and gross place to be.
Yeah, when someone just like states something you're already insecure about, you're like, fuck.
You're like, great. I mean, I wasn't even talking to myself about it, but that's cool that you have chosen to talk to me about it.
Yeah, then like I went up and people did start kind of paying attention. So I milked it and it didn't even fucking work barely.
Oh fuck. Wait, Kurt, are you still here?
Yeah.
Is Megan the one that's freezing?
Am I freezing?
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, because
Now,
I've
Kurt,
tried.
Oh, sorry. When you told that originally, what was your problem? I thought you were talking about like people. Are there like people being like babying you because you're autistic? But like that's what your problem was. Like, are there people that are like too nice to you or whatever that like try and
Yeah. Well, that could definitely be a second part of the condescending thing where people just think I can't do certain things, so they try to like do stuff for me that I can do, and I'm just like, and sometimes if I'm lazy and don't feel like doing it, I let them do it.
I think that's the best response to that. Be like, yeah, I am incapable of, going to the fridge and getting myself another soda right now. So if you wanted to, that would be.
But for the most part, I am angry by it. I just go, hey,
Yeah.
asshole, I can fucking do this.
That has to be so awkward, too, to have somebody be like, oh, do you need help with this little baby? And you're like, I'm a grown and competent man. Like, I can do things.
Yeah, I just can't read social cues mostly. Like that's about
Which, fun
it.
fact, most dudes can't, Kurt. So
yeah, I'm not any more stupid than most guys.
Dude, like I would totally milk it though. I'd be like, hey, can you go buy me a beer? I like can't deal with like the social interaction of buying a beer. And then just pretend like you don't remember or whatever, like for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I used to have people just order for me at Chipotle because I'll be like, the line triggers my autism. I totally can't do it.
that's so smart. Kurt, you're a genius.
Kurt, you have weaponized autism.
Well, all autists, I feel like I'm spoiling like I'm gonna get kicked out of autism for sharing these secrets.
You're sharing the deep, dark secrets. You're exposing everybody.
Do you talk to like this might sound, is there like a community of autistic people you talk to, or are you kind of like a lone wolf?
I'm friends with actually a lot more autistic people than I used to be in like school and stuff. And I think like, you think they're like, if there's, especially since I started doing comedy, I've become more friends with like other autistic comedians or whatever, or like confirmed autistic comedians. Because let's be honest, all comedians are a little fucking autistic.
Well, is it like when you talk to them? Is this like a thing you guys like talk about? Do you guys like share war stories about how you like used your autism? Is it kind of like a secret that like everyone knows about or whatever?
Oh yeah, well we definitely talk about like how people talk to us or like stuff like that. Like yeah, like we share stories about this and stuff. And like, like one thing that's weird too is like, and I don't know if you guys probably haven't heard of this, but there's certain women out there with an actual autism fetish.
Are you serious?
Yeah, where they want you to amp up. That sometimes I have to amp up my autism to impress these women with this fetish.
Does that make you angry at all?
Depends on how hot the woman is.
I mean, she wants to have sex with me. It's hard to be irritated with that, Like, I can't pick and choose why someone wants to have sex with me. I'm just glad you want to have sex with me. I don't really care what the reason is.
Fair enough. I can understand that one, dog. But like, I feel like it'd be like telling like a black dude, like, hey, talk more black. You know what I mean? Do they ever tell you
I feel like the
telling
black
you to act
guy.
more autistic or whatever?
I
It
feel like the
definitely
black
feels
guy
fucked
would
up.
definitely be, because I've talked to black guys and they're like, I'll do it, but I feel ashamed after. It's kind of the same.
Like
Like,
it's not good and it's not an okay thing to ask of another person, but when you're in that position, you're like, this is fucked up, but you're really hot.
yeah, like she's fucking me and she's like, say train facts.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that's hilarious. Do you run a train on them?
Oh Jesus.
Oh, I'm not that. The idea, I hate this being in a group sex is just like not for me.
Oh yeah, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, because
That
like,
that's such a like awkward and difficult to navigate social situation for anybody. So
yeah,
if
and I'm
social
not
cues
good.
are
I'm
something
not
that you're
good at.
not.
I'm not good at figuring out. I wouldn't be good at figuring out where I need to be. Like, I think, all right, which hole is mine?
You just need somebody to direct it. You need to, these women who have an autism fetish need to host and just tell everybody what to do, I suppose.
If there
That's
was
like,
if there was a porn that was an autistic guy orgy having sex with a woman, I would watch the shit out of that.
you know, Kurt, the first thing about like Hollywood and content is, you know, representation. And if you don't see the appropriate representation, you got to make that content. So I see a window that is just wide open for you here.
Yeah. Is Parker still there?
Oh yeah. I'm just quiet.
Yeah, because you were awfully quiet. I was like, oh fuck, did he cut out right out of autism orgy? That's a weird part to cut out.
Well, I just imagine like it must take a lot of teamwork. That's the only thing I'm thinking about, and I'm not good at working in a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and plus, like, to be honest, there's always an odd man out with the orgy. There's always a guy who's not doing as much as the others.
Exactly. And sometimes you got to do math. Like if it's three dudes and one girl, you know, easy to figure out. But if it's like 6 girls and like 8 dudes, like that takes like algebra and shit to like figure out exactly where you're supposed to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like, on this episode, is it just my problem, or are you guys saying more
Oh no,
problems?
we're having fun. We're having fun with yours, Kurt. I'll go ahead. I'll do my problem, which is inspired by Megan Graves' last problem from last week.
Usually is.
Okay. Mine is the word Karen. Okay.
I love the word Karen.
I know you do. That's part of the fucking problem. Is that it started out as this like niche kind of insult for like white women that turned like racist and sex. No, I'm just kidding. But it started out as this kind of like niche insult that had like a very specific meaning and a very specific context in which it was used, and then it kind of went mainstream and people have just like run it into the ground, in my opinion.
I feel like where it got ruined is where white women started using it.
What do you mean?
Like, because I just feel like it was made to insult a certain kind of white woman. Now women that would be called Karens don't realize they're Karens and they're calling people Karens, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent word because it called out a specific type of white woman, which is a very entitled, like the let me talk to your manager because my burger had lettuce on it and I asked for it not to. And it's calling out, so white women have played a very large role in racism, but they've kind of like skirted by without being called out for it because we can always fall back on the like, well, we're women, we're oppressed too. And like that, it's
You're
kind
telling
of
me.
a bunch
I'm
of,
just kidding.
it's happened. So now it's kind of like white women have to reckon with the fact that we have also perpetuated systematic racism. So a word
yeah,
like
I like
Karen,
that part of it, for sure.
I think that it hurts. The people who are getting the most offended by the word Karen are Karens, are people who would be called Karen.
This is my whole second point, is that no one is getting offended by the word Karen, but everybody is talking about the people that are getting offended by the word Karen. It's the exact same thing that happened with J-Lo and Shakira at the Super Bowl, where two people in fucking Florida got mad about it, and then there are just infinite posts of people defending them when no one's like attacking them. You know what I mean? No one cares. No one's getting offended by the word Karen. Like, no significant portion of the population is getting offended by the word Karen. But like, there are so many posts about like people that get mad about the word Karen. It's like so dumb.
I mean,
that's what I hate.
I definitely saw people like on my actual like timeline and stuff getting offended by the Super Bowl thing. And also by the word Karen. What I think is cool is that there is a disproportionate amount of posts justifying those things, which I think is like the goal, right? Like we would rather see one post where somebody's offended and then 10 posts where people are like, here's why you shouldn't be, as opposed to 10 posts where somebody's offended and just one where somebody's like, here's why you shouldn't be.
No, it should be a niche insult. Karens should not know about the word Karen. It should not be that mainstream.
I think
it should be. It's been ruined.
I think people who are acting like, a Karen, like entitled and shitty and very selfish and disregarding other people's, here's your favorite word, Parker, lived experiences. I think they should be worried about being called a Karen. Like, I think that there might be an ounce of shame that we have now introduced into their worlds about making them, watch their behavior that didn't exist before.
Go ahead, Kurt.
I feel like it's definitely making like white women think differently before they do certain things that they've been doing for years, where it's like, oh shit, if I complain too much about this in a irrational way, am I going to look like a fucking Karen? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's helpful.
This is my main point, which I don't disagree with everything that you're saying, but I feel like that this happens a lot of the time with like internet trends, is that it starts out as like niche and awesome and cool and funny, and then like
it gets
all the
overplayed.
memes, all the memes that are coming out now are like Tumblr memes, like, dude, a pack of Karens is called the privilege. Like, fuck off. That's not like.
All right, it was funny the first time we saw it. Like, the first person who said that is hilarious.
It was never funny.
It was funny the first time somebody said it. The 10 other times it was supposed to go, but
maybe it gets laughs on the Steven Universe fandom Tumblr page, but, like, get that shit off of my fucking Facebook feed. You know what I mean? Like, and this is what happens with everything, is it starts out niche, specific, awesome. Right now, it's like getting played on the radio like every 2 seconds.
Are you saying that the word Karen sold out?
Huh?
Are you saying that the word Karen sold out?
I'm saying the people that use the word Karen sold out. And now what's going to happen is it's going to become like an anti-meme. It's going to be like uncool in 5 years to call somebody a Karen, because that's so like 2020. You know what I mean? It's going to be like I'm trying to think. It's gonna be like
a Tinder joke, like when comics do Tinder jokes.
Exactly, that's what it's gonna be. When it could have been this awesome. I don't know. I really like the insult Karen, and I thought it was funny. And then I saw 10 million memes of it, and now it's just completely lost any like impact. It was funny because it was so specific, and they had the haircut. You knew exactly who these people were talking about. And now it's almost like so overplayed and so overgeneralized. Like any white woman that does anything that acts somewhat privileged is now a Karen, when it was like a very specific thing originally. It's now just gone. I think it's just going to disappear into the ether.
I don't think it is, because if we look at the word boomer, like the same thing happened with that. That word was created to shame like this generation of like entitlement and bad Facebook memes, and it definitely got overplayed out, but also that stuck, like that kind of like shame with being called a boomer, it stuck around. Like people still don't want to be called a boomer, and I think that shame associated with being called Karen is also going to stick around. Like 5 years from now, people are still not going to want to be called a Karen, and I think that makes people watch their step a little bit more and kind of analyze their decisions a little bit better. Like, a little bit of shame is good for the uber entitled.
I would completely disagree. I would say that boomer people got it's literally, I think you hit the nail on the head, Megan. It's the exact same cycle as boomer, where it was, but almost worse, because boomer isn't as funny as Karen was originally, where all of this shit got played out where there are a million memes of like boomer humor and stuff, and now it's almost like it's the cycle's coming back where it's like ironic to call somebody a boomer. Like, it used to be in good faith, you generally were calling somebody a boomer as an insult, and now people are saying it like ironically, in like an ironic way.
I think it still sticks. What are you
hold
gonna
on.
say,
Let the meme king,
the internet man himself,
about this.
If anyone knows memes, it's me. Let's be honest. All right. Parker, I see your point on the meme thing, because like I made a rule about a month ago where I'm like, no, I'm not going to share or make another Karen meme.
Thank you. That's all I need. That proves my point right there.
It doesn't prove anything.
Go ahead. Let the man talk.
Just because after a while, you do have to let a joke die, and you have to move on to a new joke. Now, is it funny to still ridicule Karens? Sure. But, like, after a while, I have to move on from that joke.
Yeah.
So, it's really just a content thing for me, where it's like, all right, now it's time to find out what the next meme-worthy thing is.
I think that's kind of just the natural cycle of comedy, though. When you're doing comedy related to a current event or a current trend, that content is only going to last you so long, right?
Yeah. I mean, after a while, it does have to die. I mean, I don't think Karen memes are ever going to completely die, though. But
I don't think so either. But neither are like Tiger King memes and stuff like that. Like, and especially right now when everybody's isolated and on their phones, like, we love current events and trends. So we are driving them to the ground, because it's like people who are isolated and not necessarily around a bunch of people feel connected based off of like this humor. But I don't think that takes away from. I think it gives more awareness to like what actions would dub somebody a Karen that I think are going to stick. Like, the humor, I will agree. Like, I don't need to see any more Karen jokes right now. Not that we're not going to see them, but that doesn't mean that the word itself still didn't come out as powerfully. Like, I think in order for it to be effective, everybody needed to know about it.
Plus, it's fun to call my white mom a Karen, I'll be honest. Like, it's fun to call my, all right, Karen, and then she just doesn't understand what that is because she's in her 60s.
Typical Karen.
Well, I'll say this is my last point, is that I think part of what I didn't touch on was the, like, timeline. Like, Karen has been around for a while. It's been around for years.
And, has it really?
Yeah, and it used to be, you know, the haircut, like, fuck Karens, I think was a subreddit created, like, you know, 3 or 4 years ago. And it had a very specific, like, you know,
like
I was saying,
envision a Karen in our
you can envision
right
a Karen. And now it's just like every old, like, middle-aged white woman is just being called a Karen. And so it's not funny anymore.
Well, I called my mom that because she does have the haircut. So I am
my mom has haircut too. So.
I'm still following the rules.
My mom is definitely, like, I love my mom. She's not, like, abusive to wait staff or anything, but she's definitely, like, a Karen, because in the very specific way that she always asks for, like, lemon wedges with, like, any meal. Like, we'll be at, like, a pizza restaurant, and, like, with, like, a cheese pizza, she'll be like, is there any way I could get some lemon wedges with this pizza? And, like, the guys are always, like, very nice about it, and they'll be like, oh, I'll check in the back. And she actually started, like, bringing packets of, like, dried lemon products to restaurants to prevent, like this happening or whatever. She's very nice. She's very nice.
Parker,
I love your mom, Parker.
She's awesome. She's literally, like, one of my favorite people in the world.
Like, if my mom just started carrying around lemon wedges, I would just find that adorable.
Well, it's because like like the thing that's funny to me. I know this is completely off topic, but like you think there's some foods that you wouldn't put lemon on. You know what I mean? And there's just no limit. You know, she'll get like she doesn't eat a ton of meat, but she'll like if she ever got like a steak, there would be dried lemon product on that steak. And if she got ice cream, there would be dried lemon. You know, just anything that you could possibly think of, she will put lemon on it. You know what I mean?
Lemon's very good for you, okay? It's very healthy. It's cleansing. It's good for your digestive tract.
I don't think that's why she does it. It's also acid, though. It's also like straight acid.
It's bad for your teeth, but it's good for like going on a cleanse, stuff like that. My tea has lemon in it.
I'm going to start doing that, actually. I'm just going to start, when we can go out again, I'm just going to start being difficult about lemon wedges. And then I'm just going to start bringing them with me. I kind of like that move.
You ask for lemon wedges when they don't bring it, you pop out your own bag that you have or whatever.
Well, that's okay. Flop it on the table. Be like, in the restaurant, be like, does anybody else need some? Anybody else need a lemon?
Yeah, they're back. When did Kurt become this way about lemons? Like, I just want it to become a thing.
You have to do lemon with everything though. Like you get a beer and you have to be like, do you have any lemons back there?
Yeah, it's like, sir, you ordered lemon meringue pie. How much more lemon do you need on it?
I swear to God, my mom will put lemon on lemon meringue pie. No joke. No joke. She would. Like that's the thing that like my mom's a really good cook. She is, but like for years I didn't like her cooking just because she'd make something really good and then she'd put like a bunch of lemon in it. You know what I mean? like I'd be like, this brownie doesn't taste very good. And she'd be like, oh, I just put a little bit of lemon in there. You know what I mean? And
so that's like her solution to every problem is lemons.
Yeah, and then I was like, can you make me like when you make it, can you have everyone put their own lemon on it? You know what I mean? And then our cooking was really good, and I'm like, all right, it just literally was the lemon this whole time.
Oh, this is fun. I'm glad you asked me to do this. I'm learning so much.
Well, my mom is a staple of the stand-up community now.
Yeah, she made her debut.
Yeah, I saw her at a show I was doing. It was a show we were on together, and she was like in the front row. I didn't realize it was your mom until after.
Oh, that was Ellicott Mills, I think, that one night.
Is that the one where she fell in love with Cam?
That was. It was the one where she saw Cam, and she really liked Cam. Not that she didn't like you, Kurt, but she like.
Oh, well, that's okay.
One of the funniest things is she was telling me how much she likes Cam, and she was like, Cam's my favorite comedian, and I was like, Mom, shouldn't I be your favorite comedian? And she was like, you're funny, but.
Yeah, I'm not for everybody. That's okay.
No, you had a killer set. That whole night was just.
I heard nothing but good things about that specific show. I've heard from like multiple people that like everybody crushed it. It was a lot of fun.
Like us, Heidi Sandberg, who's hilarious. Who's that one chick from DC that was like making out with her girlfriend the whole time?
Oh, Camille Roberts.
I really liked her. I thought she was fucking.
I like anybody who just spends any time they're not on stage making out with their girlfriend.
It was a little distracting, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I enjoyed that too, actually, to be honest.
All right, next time I run out of I forget my jokes or something, I'm just gonna start making out with a woman on stage. Be like, this is.
Oh, and then the person that headlined it was Tommy Simbazo. It's like,
yeah, he killed.
Show.
All right, like knockout fucking show right there.
What was funny about that show too, I forgot to tell you this, Parker, is that my brother was there and he was the one with the 2 teenage girls.
Oh, I remember that. Everyone was making fun of him for that.
Yeah, it was like the 2 13-year-old girls there while like everyone was doing their pussy eating jokes and shit.
Yeah. Were those his daughters or whatever?
It was his girlfriend's daughters.
Oh,
So
thank God. I thought you were about to say it was his girlfriend's, but
yeah,
I
and
was like,
I felt uncomfortable because like I'm just there. I realize my brother's there. He's there with his girlfriend I've never met, and then there's like 2 children there.
I've had to do comedy in front of children one time, and it was awful. It was so bad.
And the thing is, I was the clean comic, like kind of mostly. Like I was the one who's just like, I'm autistic. It's all self-deprecating. Everyone else is like, I get laid, and they're like sex act outs and shit.
my first joke was about that I already forgot her name. Camille, I think you said her name was.
Camille.
So her during her whole set, I got a beer that had like a sugar rim with it or something, and I'll just act out like I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I was just watching her set, going like licking the sugar rim like a fucking pervert or whatever.
Ugh.
That was my first joke. But go ahead, Megan.
For my thing or my story about when the time that I told jokes in front of children was not even one of my regular shows. It was specifically one where we were supposed to talk about being under the influence. So I came up with different material for it, and one of the stories that I chose to tell was about being in a graphic threesome. And there were these 2 like 10-year-old kids at this show, and several people tried to be like, sir, you could not have these children in here for this show. This is an 18 and up thing, like they can't be here. And this guy was like, my children are very mature and they're gonna stay here. And this guy fought so hard. He like made it out to the door. He's outside. As far as I know at this point, he's been kicked out. And then I go on stage, and it was at the Comedy Loft. It was very, very, I couldn't see anything in the audience once I was on stage. Apparently, the children walked back in during my set, and I started going into like, so anyway, we both started sucking this guy's dick, and I acted out what an Eiffel Tower, the sex move with 3 people is. Acted that out on stage, and the whole time just teaching children about threesomes without knowing. I didn't know they were there, and I'm sure that they had lots to tell their classmates the next day.
Well,
it's a rough one. It was a rough one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think about now. I'm trying to be funny, but now I'm just enticed by that story.
It was bad, and also it made me realize how much I don't love it when children are in the audience for comedy shows. Like, it's one thing if you tell me it's going to be a clean show, there are going to be children there, and you set me up for it. You probably shouldn't have somebody like me on one of those shows anyway.
Yeah,
but
like the sex heavy. I believe you called yourself on the last podcast, good old Pagan Graves.
Yes,
that's me.
Why did I introduce you as Pagan Graves?
Pagan Graves.
I forgot about it.
So I'm not necessarily. I wouldn't have me host a child's birthday party.
Yeah.
But also when kids are just in the audience and you're not expecting it, even if the parents are like, they don't care, they're mature. It's like, okay, but you are making everybody else feel weird right now. Like, nobody wants to do comedy in front of your babies.
I feel like you have to address it. Like on that first.
Yeah.
On the first Ellicott Mills show of all time, I was on it. No big deal. And there were like there's like a 13-year-old girl and like a 14-year-old guy and a 15-year-old guy. And I remember I just asked them about sex the whole time. That was like my whole set or whatever, was just like trying to figure out what they knew and what they didn't know. Like, you have to do something with it. You can't just let them exist and not address it.
So Tommy was also on that show, and it was about being under the influence. So like he and Eric were on it, and they just were like, kids, I think one of them said, the kids, I don't care what anybody tells you, your parents, your teachers, drugs are fucking cool.
That's so punk rock.
It's
like,
so
that's so
funny.
Fucking...
It was so funny. They
that's
killed
like,
it.
And
it was
they're
one of
not
the most
wrong,
mortifying
really.
experiences of my life, but they had a good show.
Not wrong.
I mean, all right, Megan, let's get into your gripe, your problem.
My thing is so dumb. I hate that mine's last. Wind is my thing. I'm really irritated by wind right now. It's loud. It's just annoying. Like, it was so warm outside yesterday. It would have been even better if there was no fucking wind. Like, I don't know, but I guess that goes back to, like, I'm losing my brain in quarantine and everything is irritating to me right now.
But wind is kind of a twat, though.
It's so annoying. Like, your hair's all blowing in your face and shit. And
You're never happy for wind unless you're like fly kites. You're never like, oh, thank
Nobody's
God.
like, oh boy, a windy day.
Yeah, I totally get it. Also, like, trying to wear a hat. You adjust your hat.
About it.
You adjust your hat for no wind, and you think you're all good. But then, like, especially if you wear a fitted hat, if it starts getting really windy, you can't tighten it up. It's gone.
Nope, it's gone. Your hat's gone. But I've found myself getting, like, it's like one of those small things, like when you catch, like, your pant loop on the door handle or something that, like, shouldn't make you that angry, but if it hits you at the right time, it makes you so fucking angry. No, just me? I'm just the only one who has
very
short fuse here.
It's also sporadic, too. That's what pisses you off probably more, is that there'll be a period of no wind where you go, okay, we're good.
It just sneaks up on you.
And then it comes back, and it's like, could you just fucking not right now? Yeah, but that...
And no one knows why it exists. Scientists haven't figured it out.
Isn't it? I mean, the good thing about it is it gets all the seeds and stuff where they need to go.
Who gives a fuck about seeds?
Not me, Parker.
My biggest problem in the universe is seeds. I don't care. Everyone on my podcast keeps talking about seeds. Who cares about seeds?
Who else is talking about seeds?
I know, I was just fucking with you. But
just the plants and sustainability of life that we need. But
we'll give one counterpoint. I mean, windmills.
I know, where would we be without? No, wind turbines, fucking rad. And
what's the difference between a wind turbine and a windmill?
Well, when I picture a windmill, it's like one of those, like, picturesque in a field moving slowly, whereas the wind turbines are those giant ass white things that they're like the spikes that actually produce energy. Like in California, they're all over.
This is becoming so autistic right now, like about windmills and fucking.
This is my peeve, okay?
Kurt, are there any trains powered by wind? Any trains with like sails on them?
I don't know. I'm not really into wind. Like, I just kind of hate. I don't think there's anything positive about it. Like, I hate it.
I'm trying to think of anything.
No, you guys can't even fight me on this. We're all just like, yeah, no, fuck the wind.
Winds are cool. Winds are bad. Breezes are cool, though.
Breezes, yes.
I'll fuck with a breeze.
A nice, gentle, steady breeze when you're hot outside.
Yes.
Yeah, but like when it's just complete wind, fuck that shit.
Oh no.
No, it's just aggressive. I feel like it's broaching my consent when it's super windy outside. Like, I'm like, I did not ask for this. Like, having long hair, it's all over the place. If I'm wearing chapstick or something, it's all up in my lips. It's, again, I do wish that mine was not the last problem we discussed, considering we went into some very big topics here that actually matter. And I'm just like, wind's weird.
Yeah, mine I thought about for like an hour. I was like, I really went in depth with like having a disability, and you're just like, fuck wind. And I'm like, you know what? That is the worst thing. Fuck wind.
Some typical Karen energy over here right now, right, Parker?
Brought all together. But I mean, there has to be some good uses for wind. I'm blanking on it.
I mean, making electricity.
Sailors back in the 1800s. But we aren't in the 1800s anymore. We don't need it.
I think for energy, it's planting seeds. I think that's what it's the best it does. I don't know. You got a number two. What?
You got to back up.
I didn't. I really came full force with wind. I'm sure
you came full force. That was a gale force that you were bringing with the wind problem.
I mean, I can come up with problems instantly. Let me just think about men for like 5 minutes, and
That was gonna be my next problem for next week is people that shit on men all the time.
I
Or
mean,
should I save it for next week?
you don't have to, because I mean, people who shit on men all the time tell men to stop being so shitty all the time.
Oh, that's... God damn. I hate... God damn. That is so offensive.
Put your
I'm
dukes
offended.
up, Parker.
Huh?
Said put your dukes up, Parker.
I don't think Kurt Ryan... We could do that after the podcast. We could discuss these things.
I'll make a PowerPoint for next week titled "Men Are Trash," and I will go through.
Well,
except for Kurt Ryan.
Except for Kurt Ryan.
Because I'm just an all-around pretty decent fella.
He is. He's an all-around pretty decent fella.
That's what I put on my business card. Kurt Ryan, all-around pretty decent fella.
Kurt, all-around pretty decent fella, Ryan.
All right. I have another one if you guys don't mind.
Yes, PB.
My one is people that still care about Harry Potter. My next
I'm
biggest
big.
problem.
I will agree with you. I hated the Harry Potter franchises. I didn't get into the books. I didn't appreciate the movies. I was just like, I don't like this. And then you tell somebody you don't like Harry Potter and like,
I've never even seen it
like Harry
or read it, or like I just don't give a shit about some nerdy ass white wizard fucking shit.
Excellent, like children, young adult stories, books. She created a whole world. It's impressive, but she needs to stop it. J.K. Rowling needs to just hands off.
Yeah, she says some stupid ass shit now.
She
like,
says some stupid ass shit now.
Well, my whole thing was I actually was pretty into it back in the day, back in the good old days. I read all the books and I watched all the movies and I liked it a lot. And now it's like 10 years later and people are still like getting Harry Potter merchandise and I'm like, all right. Well, it wasn't that good.
I hate to say this, but like a lot of those grown Harry Potter fans make me feel like I barely have autism. Like, I feel like that should be the scale in which autism is judged.
You'd be surprised, though. I have two, friends that I know in real life that I hang out with every once in a while that are, their door has a Hufflepuff fucking poster on it, you know? And that's the thing that sucks about them, too, is, all the fans now are Hufflepuffs. And Hufflepuff was the worst house out of all of them. It was the worst. You guys don't know this because you didn't watch it or anything. But they're four houses. There's Gryffindor, who badass chads, Slytherin, who are criminals, Ravenclaws, who are nerds, and then Hufflepuff, who's
big
doesn't.
babies.
Well, they have no other defining characteristics. They have no defining characteristics besides just
they're squishy and
they're
cute.
They're there. They're there. And that's what everyone is now. Ravenclaw for life, by the way. But
I hate Harry Potter, but let me go ahead and break down Harry Potter for you guys just real quick. And just so it's clear, I'm a Ravenclaw.
That was not my problem.
I know. Your problem
You women don't listen. It was not my problem. My problem was people that are still Harry Potter fans now. I was a Harry Potter fan back when Harry Potter was coming out. It was a decent young adult book series. It was decent. But it would be like someone still being a fan of Twilight, even though Twilight came out later. You know what I mean?
Twilight is a masterpiece. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to argue for Twilight.
So how similarly are we treating Harry Potter? And I keep thinking Lord of the Rings. So what made Star Wars and Lord of the Rings more adult than Harry Potter? Is it just the fact that the people in Harry Potter are younger themselves? People still fucking love Star Wars.
I still love Star Wars. Go ahead, Kurt, though.
I like Star Wars. I'm not as I try to not act as obsessed with it as other people do, just because I feel like acting obsessed with Star Wars is kind of just everybody does it. But I still love Star Wars. I think it's right. That's what you just said, where it's I guess because the characters are older.
It also tells a different story. The first 3 Star Wars films are literally some of the best storytelling and music.
Yeah,
they
and it deals
complicated.
with more mature themes and stuff. So I guess that's why it can connect with you as an adult still.
The other thing is like Lord of the Rings, I get because it inspired like literally so much stuff. Like it had a huge cultural impact, especially in like nerd culture. Like all of Dungeons and Dragons is based off of Lord of the Rings. There's literally like he wrote like 3 or 4 different languages
that
for
part
trees and shit.
blows my mind. Like writing, I can't even make myself write like a 2-minute short video, and people are out here making whole other languages.
I think those do have like the thing too is like you are ridiculed a little bit if you are like a Star Wars fan still. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're still
My
considered
ex
a
had
nerd,
3 Star Wars tattoos.
which is cool. But like Harry Potter's so much lamer. You know what I mean?
Is it?
Yeah, it's lamer.
I'm trying, like, I mean, it's all a little lame, right? Like any fantasy world is a little quote unquote lame. Like if we're gonna call one of them lame, I feel like they're all a little bit lame.
They're all a little bit lame, but there's still degrees. There still is like a hierarchy, a social hierarchy with intersections of privilege and intersections of oppression.
Within the different fantasy lands.
You have Harry Potter privilege if you like Harry Potter.
Yeah, I was never a fan.
I honestly just didn't fuck with books that much. Which is crazy because I have a degree in English. I've just never. I did like series of unfortunate events when I was younger.
That's what it should be. It should be like if you got a series of unfortunate events tattoo, if you get a Harry Potter tattoo. Series of unfortunate events was better than Harry Potter. I'll go out on a limb and say it. It wasn't as sellable. It wasn't as like marketable.
It was dark.
Yes.
Very dark.
The whole reason Harry Potter's popular is because a bunch of kids secretly wanted to be a wizard. And that was the whole selling point is when you turn 10, you might get a letter from Hogwarts. Oh my god. Like that was the secret fantasy in the back of the but like the whole Harry Potter shit, I wrote a whole stand-up bit about how like fucked up it is. Like, you know, you have a bunch of white people running around in robes calling themselves wizards. Like I've been to the South. I know that's not a recipe for success. And like and they totally shit on everyone that's not Gryffindor, too. Yeah. Well, no, you guys won't get that joke because you guys don't get any fucking. You guys didn't read the fucking.
So funny. It's just your whole angle of like, I don't like people who still like Harry Potter. Fuck, I can't talk about Harry Potter with you guys because you don't like it.
Yeah. Well, not because you don't like, because you didn't used to like it in the past. It'd be like someone getting a Peppa Pig tattoo.
I don't think so.
Are you a big Peppa Pig fan?
Huge.
Are you going to talk about the allegories and myths of the Peppa Pig fandom or whatever?
I don't know anything about Peppa Pig, but I know that the conspiracies go pretty far.
Are there really? Are there conspiracy theories about Peppa Pig?
Not like real ones, but people being like, this is like this horribly sad backstory. Like they did it for like the Rugrats and stuff too, about how like there's this theory that all of the Rugrats have some kind of like abandonment issues, and that's why they have like their specific quirks. Like it points out that Angelica has like a neglectful mom, and like there's
Tommy's a Chad though.
There's one that like one of the babies isn't even real, that they like died.
Isn't it the twins? I think I've heard this.
Is it Phil and Lil?
One of the twins isn't real.
Yeah, like there's a whole bunch of
they
weird.
Never
like Chucky's got some fucked up stuff, or like they're all just figments in Chucky's head because he's dealing with the loss of his mother, or Chucky's the one who died with his mother. Something like that. Like there's I love that kind of stuff where people just give these insanely dark backstories to.
Next week, this will be a Rugrats conspiracy theory podcast. How about that?
That's all we're gonna talk about.
I would be on that. I'll make up one. Tommy Pickles was a 9/11 truther.
Oh God, that would be great. All of them died on 9/11 except for Tommy Pickles, and he knows.
And Chucky's a beta male cock. Like, he's a representative.
Chucky's a simp for sure.
Yeah, he's
That's my other problem with Harry Potter is they have a bunch of redheaded characters on there. They never get bullied, right?
Doesn't Ron Weasley get bullied a whole bunch?
By his family. That doesn't count.
Oh yeah, that makes it better.
Like his family makes fun of, but never for being redheaded. It's like all the main characters are white redheaded people.
That's the thing. I was just thinking that about all of these fantasy worlds. They're all white people. Like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Twilight.
There's some sense to it. I mean, they all are based off of European mythology. There's mythology in other cultures that doesn't have white people.
Yeah, but I think it's worth noting that the ones that do just have all white people are the ones that make it mainstream.
Well, in the West, if you look at Japanese culture, actually, the proliferation of the Journey to the West myth, which can be compared to the European myths of old, is actually a mainstay of much of their media.
Oh.
Have you ever watched Dragon Ball Z?
No. I was too busy getting laid.
I like Dragon Ball Z, but now I don't really
got him.
I don't really care about continuing to talk about Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, for sure. But that's
Dragon
all
Ball Z
Japanese
was the shit, you know.
Yeah. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan myself, which is the original. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I think that about does it for today's podcast, I think. Right? You guys good?
Yeah, I feel good about getting my problem out.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, dear listener, remember to watch this podcast, I guess, and vote online there will be a poll. Oh, go ahead.
And Parker, if you could make Terry Crews be the picture on my image. Just make me Terry Crews if you can.
I will do I'll see what the video comes out as. I'll do my best to make you Terry Crews.
Parker, he has autism and the only thing he's asking you to do is to make his picture Terry Crews, okay? You got to give him that.
Kurt, I'll tell you something for real. I've been trying to make myself Terry Crews for years, and I've never figured it out. So hopefully I get it right this time, but we'll see. My video editing skills aren't the best. All right, everybody, that's the podcast for this week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. All righty. That's